Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a book that I actually recorded last year. It came out about this time in 2019, and there's a reason for that, but we're doing a throwback, and the book is called Identity Theft: Rediscovering Ourselves After Stroke. So, May is Stroke Awareness Month, and June is Aphasia Awareness Month, which the Mayo Clinic describes as, I wrote this down, aphasia is a condition that robs you of the ability to communicate. It can affect your ability to speak, write, and understand language, both verbal and written. This book meant a lot to me because at the time I was recording it, coincidentally, a friend of mine happened to be in the process of recovering from a stroke, and it was invaluable to me in understanding what that process was like for her, as well as the people around her, and how I could be most helpful, which frankly, I felt useless. And this book was a really good sounding board to understand what this truly daunting and unexplainable process is like. I was first introduced to the author, Deborah Meyerson, and her husband, Steve, by the YA author Elizabeth Fama, who I adore. She wrote Plus One and also Monstrous Beauty. And they came to me because Deborah and her family had been working on a book about stroke recovery, and it was going to be published, and they were interested in having an audio component. Now, Deborah happened to be a Stanford professor with a history of public speaking, and in that situation, when you have that kind of author, usually they would record their own audiobook. But that wasn't possible in this case, because in 2010, Deborah had suffered a severe stroke that severely compromised her ability to communicate. So she needed a voice, and I was very honored to be that voice for her and to hopefully do this incredible book justice. So, because I think it's important, I want to read to you Deborah's bio and the work that she put into this book. While I won my struggle to survive, much of my identity as a Stanford professor, a speaker and writer, an athlete, a mother, and a wife was taken from me. My mind was working, but I was trapped inside a broken body, unable to do what I used to do. And maybe even worse, I couldn't tell anyone what I was experiencing. With hard work and a lot of help, I regained enough mobility to again be independent and have recovered some ability to speak. She has. But I have come to accept that I will never again have all the capabilities I once had. Years later, I'm still slowly recovering more of my abilities and am continuing to rebuild my identities. I've found few resources to help with the emotional piece of this journey, and have heard the same from many of my fellow survivors. What I liked about this book is that it focuses on, as she said, the emotional journey. Okay, the psychological hurdles to stroke recovery. And not only does she chronicle her own journey and that of her family, but she is a very good social scientist. And therefore, she highlights the journeys of dozens of other survivors, their families, medical professionals, and really gives you a holistic look at the recovery process for stroke and aphasia. As such, the book recently won the Nautilus Silver Award, Better Books for a Better World. And you can also go to www.identitytheftbook.org for more resources and more information. The work that Deborah and her family have done around this subject is invaluable, and I wish this hadn't happened to her, but she has created such a valuable resource for other people that it has happened to. So, with that, I'm going to read to you a section from the book that is about her personal journey, just to give you a sense of how crazy this experience is. Between Sunday evening and Monday morning, the impact of my stroke was becoming more apparent and more extreme. At 10 p.m., when I had moved onto the neurology floor, my speech was awkward but still clear. I had started to exhibit confusion and had more obvious problems moving my right leg and arm. After the 11 p.m. shift change, a nurse told Steve that it often takes a while for the full damage of the stroke to reveal itself, and that arms usually lose function faster and more completely than legs. She said that the MRI taken Sunday night showed no additional damage compared to the one taken when I arrived, but he shouldn't be surprised to see more physical deterioration. They woke me every hour through the night to do a standard neurological exam, asking me to move my arms and legs and try to describe pictures on a page. Every hour, I was a bit worse. I felt completely helpless, Steve remembered. Deb was clearly getting worse, but they kept telling me there's nothing they can do to affect the path of her decline. I kept thinking there had to be something they could do, something I could do, and there just wasn't. I had no idea what the bottom of the slide would be. Death? A coma? Complete paralysis? We've come to describe that night as my slow motion fall off a cliff. By morning, my right side was almost completely paralyzed. My arm was immobile, and I could just barely twitch my leg. The right side of my face had stroke droop. With each hourly exam, my speech had become more slurred, then soft, then stunted. At the 8 a.m. exam, I was completely mute. I couldn't even pass a cough through my lips. Steve said he could tell I was still there when he looked into my eyes, but I couldn't have told him he was right, because I had lost the ability to form words or even sounds. I don't know if I could hear and comprehend what he was saying to me, since I have no recollection of those first few days. Thank you again to where this all started, Elizabeth Fama, but mostly to Deborah and Steve and their family for this wonderful book and for letting me be a part of this journey. Yeah, this is an important one. Okay, everyone stay safe, stay healthy.